All right. I have received one user question, and it is simple but yet interesting one. So let me show you the question first. So here is the question. I have two scenarios. Both the scenarios are dealing with the macros, specifically macro variables, especially talking about the scope of the macro variables, right? You can see the code from line number 2 to line number 7 here, right? That is one use case from here to here. And then I have the other use case where we have the code from line number 10 to line number 15, right? In both the cases, we are creating a macro variable with the same name outside the macro, that is nothing but open code. At the same time, we are creating the macro variables within the macro code here as well as here, and we are also passing, right? In such cases, the user question is the code 1 value is getting updated, but as where code 2 value is not getting updated. What is the logic behind it? All right. So this is the question. Let me try my best to answer this. All right. So first, I just have prepared the code here. This is what my scenario 1 is. Just follow me a second. Added only some minor update to the code just for the debugging purpose. I'll also show you where this particular code is, or what exactly the code changes I have made also. I'll show you. Okay. Let me write it here. So now this is my scenario 1. So ideally the user has mentioned let a equal to 10, let a equal to 20. Then at the end in the line number 7, we just call that particular macro variable. So for ease of reference, what I have done is, so first I went with this particular one. Percentage let a equal to 10. Immediately I'm trying to resolve the value to see what is the value of u. We all know that the moment you create any macro variable in the open code that is outside the macro, the scope is going to be global until unless you forcefully created that by using the percentage local. I'm not doing that here. So the moment you write any code in any macro variable in the open code, then the scope is global. So the moment I run it, it will show as I can see the value of a is equal to 10. Just everyone knows it. But behind the scenes, what will happen? How exactly SAS works in this particular scenario? See, we all know that the moment you create any macro variable, it is going to be part of either macro symbol table, that is, it has global symbol table as well as local symbol table. It is going to have its existence in either of those tables, correct? Let's see how it is. See, I'm writing in an open code here. And let's say that this is going to be macro. Okay. Now, the moment I go to the macro code, first I'm writing in an open code, right? Let's take this one as it is. This is what my code is. Percentage let a is equal to 10. It is an open code. So the scope is going to be global. So immediately you can understand that it will go to your, let's say if you consider this as your global symbol table, it is going to check two things. Number one, does this a macro variable is already exists in this global table or not? The answer is no, because this is the first time you are creating it. It is not part of your global symbol table yet. Since it is the first time you are creating it, first it is going to create this particular variable with a is equal to 10 as a value. So to support this, I have also prepared one of the, see this. You can find it in Google, anywhere you can see this. The moment you want to create a new macro variable, if it is in an open code, it is going to check is that variable exists in the global symbol table or not. If it is exists, it is already available, it updates the value of it. If it is not available, it is going to create a value and it is going to assign the value to it. So it is going to create a macro variable called A and assign the value 10 to it. That is the story behind the first one. Okay. Now, this is my macro code. I made only one enhancement to this. I just use one new variable, one new statement here, percentage put underscore user underscore. I created this particular one to show you the scope of the macro variable. Okay, let's see how this code is going to be. Percentage let A is equal to 20. Where it is? This particular one, this particular variable is part of your macro, which is nothing but macro 1. The moment you are creating any macro variable within the macro, the scope is going to become local. Specifically, the scope is local to that particular macro. So now, to help this, I'll go with one more thing here. This is your local symbol table. Unlike your global symbol table, your local symbol table will be having multiple subtables in that. This is only imaginary stuff. Remember that, right? You need to say, technically speaking, it is going to have multiple scopes within the local. Meaning, now I'm creating a macro variable called A under mac1. First, it is going to do is, it is going to create a scope for macro variable mac1. First, it is going to create a scope for mac1 macro. In the mac1 macro, now I'm going with A is equal to 20. So here the concept is for local macro variable. First, it is going to check is that macro variable A is present in the current scope or not. Current scope in the sense current macro within the local symbol table. This is the current macro, mac1. Within this, I don't have A. When it doesn't have it, it is going to check is the A available in any other scope in the next scope in the local symbol table. Meaning, if I have any other macro here, and within that particular macro, if already A is available, it is going to inherit the properties of that. But I don't see any. Now, it is going to check the next available scope. What is the next available scope? Global. So what is the hierarchy? Always check the current scope. That is current macro. That too within local. Next. Once it is not finding it, check the next scope. Again, any other macro within local. There also it is not finding. Then check the next scope, which is nothing but global. Now look at this. Does it have the global value or not? The same macro variable A is present in the global scope. When it is present in the global scope, it won't create one more time. Instead, it will update the value for this. What is the new value? The new value is going to be 20. So I can say that from 20 to from 10 to 20, this value got updated. But remember, where it updated the value? In the global scope. Has it created any macro variable in the local scope? No, it is not created. It is not created. The variable A is still in the global symbol table only. The variable A is not part of your local symbol table at all. That is the first difference you need to identify. Only how can you confirm that? Simple. Can you say percentage put user underscore user? This one is going to confirm us. It is going to show you all the user created variables along with the score, right? Now, when I run this particular one, see this? It is showing the value of A as 20, but it is not showing that it is related to Mac 1. If the scope is going to be for this macro variable, whichever the macro it is, that macro name should come. I'll show you this in the next example. Now it is showing it as a global. What is the meaning? Meaning it has not created this variable at all in your local symbol table. Instead, it updated the value in the global symbol table directly. So when you call it, it is going to check the value of A in macro variable, the current macro, it is not available. It is going to check the next scope, it is not available. It is going to check the next scope global, it is available, and it is going to resolve the value as 20. Right? The same thing when you say percentage put outside now, that is in the open code. When you run anything in the open code, when you try to resolve anything in the open code, right? That is percentage put and %A. It only checks the global score. Is this A present in the global symbol table or not? Yes, it is present. What is the value? 20. So it resolved with 20. So if I go to the first one, the answer is 20. Yes. Why the answer is 20 means it haven't created local macro variable A in the Mac 1. Instead, the A is exists in the global symbol table, so it directly updated there. So hope all of you are clear with the first scenario. Now I'm going back to the second scenario. The second scenario code is here. All right, let's come back to scenario number 2. Here is the code for it. This is the code the user has given. So all I'm trying to do is in the scenario number 2, I'm just going to copy paste this. So percentage net AV is equal to age. You know what it is. It is a global code. That is, it is outside the macro, open scope. Open scope in the sense global. It is going to check whether the AV macro variable is present in the global symbol table or not. I don't have it. So what it is going to do? It is going to create a macro variable called AV within the global symbol table and assign the value to that as each. Done. Even when I resolve this particular one, I'm going to get the same. It is global in nature. Okay. Second, LABD part. Let me explain the LABD part by taking this code. Remember, macro parameters are peculiar, easy, but have a nature of confusing us. Meaning, so before I want to explain this particular one, let me explain another simple scenario. Let us say LABD, I'm taking some value, let us say test is equal to. I don't do anything here. I just call that all the user defined variables. And here I'll say that test is equal to, let us say, value of test is, I'm just giving as my numeric. Am I creating anything here? Am I doing any logic here? No. Just I'm trying to resolve all the values which are created by the user. The moment you call anything, the moment you call this particular one with the test is equal to Murali, the nature of macro parameters is such that it would like to create a macro variable called a test, which should be local to this particular macro called labd. That is, it will not check anything. It only say one thing. User want to create a local macro variable which supposed to be for labd. labd is my macro name. Within the labd, it is going to create a variable called test, and it is going to assign a value called numeric. It will not check anything whether the test is available in the next highest scope or in the next highest scope. No, because macro parameters are always local and it is always specific to that particular macro only. That is the first point you all need to remember. The moment I'm going ahead with the macro parameters, remember, macro parameters are specific only to that particular macro. The test will be always restricted, or the test scope is always for this particular macro only. How can I check that? Check this now. What happens? It is not checking anywhere. Simply, test is the macro variable name. The value of that is equal to null, and it is specific to the macro called labd. That is what I mentioned here. You can ask me only why you're talking about this here. Simple. This is the logic we are going to use here now. What it is going to do? LABD, the value of AV is equal to height. The moment I call this particular macro, first thing that is going to do is, it is going to create a macro variable called AV with a value of height. Am I correct or not? Where it is going to create it? Within LABD. Is this what my LABD is? Within the LABD, it is going to create a macro variable called AV whose value is equal to height. Done. Now it went inside the map. What is the first thing? Now it is going to use percentage let, just like your case one scenario. Just like your case one scenario. What it is trying to do now? AV is equal to GINT. Now, is AV is going to be the macro variable that I want to create within the scope called LABD. So what it is going to do now? Same steps. Check whether the current scope within the local macro variable is AV present here or not. Yes, it is present. Am I correct or not? It is present or not? Yes, it is. So AV is part of my current scope. When it is already part of my current scope, what I am going to do, or what SAS is going to do, it is going to update the value to GINE. Am I correct? If the scope is not available, that's a different story. Correct? If the scope is not available here, it is going to check here. It is also not available, then it is going to check here and it is going to update it. But here, the value, the AV macro variable is already exists within the LABD. So all it need to do is, it need to update the value as GINE. But remember, this AV or this GIND value is restricted only to this particular one. Am I correct? But it has not touched your global scope yet. Correct? Why? It is able to find the macro variable, local macro variable within the same scope. So it updated here. It won't come to the next scope. It won't come to the next scope at all. So the value of AV is remains age in the global symbol table, whereas the value of AV is GIND in your local symbol table. Initially it was height, then it got updated to GIND. Correct? So how to check that? Again, this percentage user will help you. See this? Now it is saying that the value of AV is GIND for local symbol table called LABD. The value of AV is EH for the global. correct? See this. Now, when you are calling this particular one, at the same, here, I'll also add this. This is again very interesting stuff. Look at this. I'm calling this particular one before my AV allocation and after my AV allocation. Run this. Can you see this? The value of AV before the allocation of percentage let, it is high. Correct? That is this white color one. This white color one. After the allocation, what is going to happen? GIND. Correct? That is this black color one. So now my explanation is completely in line and it is not touching your global at all. That is the reason global is still, all the three scenarios are met. Now come back. Now, outside the macro, if I'm calling anything in the global scope, what is going to happen? If I'm calling anything in the open code, my first preference is going to be global. Yeah, it's going to check whether it is having value in the global or not. The global, it is there. The value of global EV value is H. I run this H. Is this clear to everyone? Why in the scenario 2 it is not got updated, and why in the scenario 1 the global macro value is updated? I hope I'm clear with this particular one. Still, if any of you have any questions, let me know. I'll do one thing. I'll also add this particular one to my how SAS works. So that if anyone requires further, you can use this. Scope example. So that my learners might know that I have a habit of explaining everything within the Excel. That's the reason I have updated here. Okay, let me upload this video in the YouTube. So just I make it as a global. Anyone have any questions? You can just post your comments. I'm really happy to answer that. Any questions you have, let me know. I can create a video out of it. Thank you guys. Bye.